Hello and welcome to episode 55 of the How to Survive podcast. My name's Joe and joining me, as ever, Chris. Hello.
Hello.
That is you, isn't it?
You'd hope so.
Yeah, well, we'll have to test that and find out throughout the course of this show. Of course, this week, if you didn't get that from my allusion to it there, is The Thing, the 1982 John Carpenter classic horror.
Yeah, it's probably one of our most recommended films that people constantly emailing in, asking us to do it.
Yeah. How many times have you seen it now?
Quite a few times.
Yeah, it's an excellent film.
Yeah, very good.
One of the bastions of the horror genre, for various reasons which we'll discuss at length over the next sort of 45 minutes to an hour.
Laboriously.
Yes, we're going to dissect the film and see what's inside.
Yeah, we're going to tear it apart, mate, and become it.
But that means that there will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen John Carpenter's The Thing, do go away and seek it out. It is a remake, and it has been remade since. So maybe go watch those.
Yeah, well, that was a prequel. The 2011.
The 2011 one was a prequel.
Yeah.
But a soft reboot as well, I think.
Yeah, I think so, which never really got off the ground.
No. But this one stands up, and it tells the story of an American team of scientists and engineers who are stationed in Antarctica. Earlier in their assignment, they're roused by a helicopter piloted by some Norwegians, which is circling their camp and shooting at a dog. The helicopter lands as the dog reaches the Americans. And one Norwegian attempts to throw a grenade, but fumbles it, blowing up himself and the helicopter. The other is then killed by the Americans when he draws his gun and starts shooting at the dog. MacReady, played by Kurt Russell, is an American helicopter pilot, and he leads a small excursion to the Norwegian base to see what was going on there. There they discover the wreckage of what was once a scientific research facility, and the body of what they think is a man, though he appears to be terribly disfigured in ways that defy logic.
Yeah, two faces.
Yeah, and all sorts of things wrong with him. Dr. Blair, back at the American camp, performs an autopsy and discovers a set of human organs, which means this was, at some point, a human. The dog is placed in a kennel with other dogs and immediately transforms into a hideous monster, attacking every dog in the kennel. The crew discovers this mayhem and realise that this creature is trying to transform into a replicant of the other dogs, so they destroy it with a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Following a map they discovered at the Norwegian camp, MacReady leads an expedition to the excavation site. There they find a crashed flying saucer, along with what appears to be a hole left by an exhumed body. Back at camp, Blair runs some tests and discovers that there is a high chance that members of the group may have been killed and replaced by The Thing. And that if it reaches civilization, The Thing would destroy all of humanity.
The stakes are high.
Yeah, definitely. This news sends him mad, and he opts to destroy all the communications and escape routes, including the helicopter, and he's locked in a bunker outside for his trouble.
Yeah. Well, it's more of a shed.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not underground. It's like a...
Yeah, a bunker is a generous way of describing the sort of shack that they leave him in the frozen tundra.
Yes, but he's left there, despite his protestations that he's fine now. The paranoia about who may or may not be infected grows to fever pitch. After a lot of fights and posturing, MacReady is locked out of the cabin as the others assume that he has been infected. He breaks back in and threatens to blow the camp up with dynamite if they don't all do as he says. At this news, Norris suffers a heart attack. As Dr. Copper is performing CPR, Norris's chest bursts open, revealing a set of terrible jaws, which then eat Copper and force the others to burn both bodies with a flamethrower. Yeah. MacReady orders the group to tie each other up and begins an experiment to determine who is a thing and who isn't, by burning a small amount of each of their blood. Palmer is discovered to be a thing and is destroyed with fire. Yeah. But not before attacking Windows, who also is burned with fire. The surviving trio discover that Blair has escaped his confinement and has been building a spaceship underground. Yeah. They discover he has also destroyed the generator, meaning that they are now doomed, and they decide to use their final moments to eradicate the thing. And in the final showdown, MacReady blows up the entire camp. As he sits in the wreckage, he's joined by Childs. Neither is sure if the other is infected, and they agree to share a drink of whiskey as the film fades out. And that is The Thing.
Yeah. So is this the best remake of all time?
Well, True Grit's very good, as we said.
You were on a long-standing downer about remakes for a while on this podcast.
Yeah, I think this turns the tide.
Yeah.
But it did happen 35 years ago. Modern remakes.
Yeah.
Do we need them? Chris?
Well, you're moving the goalposts now.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
But yeah, this is a brilliant,
very solid film.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's like an absolute masterclass in that sort of paranoid tension feeling. Because as anyone who watches the film knows, then there's no real clue at any point who is and isn't the thing until they explode with tentacles, or their chest opens to reveal a massive set of teeth, or anything like that. So it is brilliant.
Yeah, I think so. I think, like you say, not knowing, even we don't know as the viewers who really is and isn't.
Yeah,
because all the attacks, or largely, they take place off camera, and so someone just walks in a room and you're like, where was he for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And basically anyone who's alone at any point is at risk of becoming the thing. It's very scary.
Yeah, even, what is it, 30 years later, 40 years later, people don't 100% know at what order people are infected, or when, or, there are scenes where people are picking it apart, trying to decide whether or not the character's showing a trait or something that means it's the thing in that scene or not.
There's nothing that, there's no criteria that basically needs to be met. It's not like you have two sets of eyelids or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the thing is, it's still terrifying and shocking, like I said, 30 odd years after it was made. Yeah. And I think that's in large part down to the special effects.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which this is probably, I mean, we've seen Alien, we've all seen Alien, and that certainly holds up. I'd say this takes it a bit further, because it's rather than just being like a model that they'll look at, this is actually, they're interacting with it as well, and it's really a lot of thought has gone into making this thing disgusting and scary, I think.
Yeah, these are as you say, they completely hold up, and they're genuinely disgusting special effects. I think the special effects in this film and the monsters in this film, or monster, the different forms it takes, disgust me and freak me out a lot more than any other film that I can think of. They really make my skin crawl. There's something about everything looks wet and sort of glistening, and I just imagine the smell.
So when Norris's head crawls off his body, and it just growing tentacles out of things that shouldn't grow tentacles, it's paws in his head, just, oh my goodness me.
I have this weird thing, a thing that freaks me out is the idea of unfettered growth. So fungus and decrepit things like that freak me out. And this is when it's sprouting these glistening dog heads, the dog scene, and you have that horrible shot of the dog that's half digested, whimpering, and it's skins
boiled off,
and it's it's just disgusting and horrible. And
the dog acting in this film is amazing, by the way. I don't know what I'm comparing it with, because I don't know.
Well, Beethoven.
But the dog, the thing, dog, is very scary and intense. And it can't be because it's a dog, it's not like but it just, the way they shoot it, so looking out the window at them and just not moving, just waiting. Oh, it's creepy.
Yeah.
Masterfully done.
Yeah, it's a very, very well made film.
When do you think Blair got?
Well, there's different schools of thought on this, aren't there? There's some people think that he was already the thing when they locked him in the shed. Yeah. And then other people think that he
was attacked when he was in there.
Exactly, yeah. I think probably the latter. I think what he's doing, the sort of mad shit that he starts smashing up the lab and all that sort of thing.
That's not consistent with something that wants to
escape. Yeah. And also that is a logical thing to do. Yeah. If we were talking how to survive for the benefit of the human race, that is what you should do.
Blair would be in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. Yeah. He the thing isn't going to crawl across, thousands of miles of frozen tundra, because we know that it can freeze and be frozen.
But it doesn't die when it gets frozen. It just goes stiff.
Yeah. But that's not ideal for it.
No, exactly.
Because it's as they say in the film, he's potentially been there for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
So just waiting, lying in wait.
Yeah.
But the blood test scene as well.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most tense parts of the film.
Yeah, and it's like an iconic scene, isn't it? And rightly so.
Yeah.
What I love about it is that there's that twist, when the blood lurches out of the petri dish. Yeah. But it's almost like it comes at the unexpected point of the scene.
Yeah.
Like the feeling of the scene is building, and he's sort of exchanging looks with Gary and with Childs and various other people who he suspects might be the thing.
Yeah.
And then Palmer, you don't really think it's almost like Palmer's not even.
He's just wallpaper.
Yeah, exactly. And then like he's saying to Gary, we're going to do you next or whatever. We're going to test your blood next. And it's at that point, like, it's not even like focused on, or there's no ramp up of music or anything like that. And that's when the thing lurches out. And it's like, it's really well done. Like, it's an excellent scene.
And then he starts to like explode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just like bubbles out. And then like he kills Windows by clamping like a Venus flytrap around his head and then shaking him around the room.
It's almost like the thing must have taken on the traits of like so many different things. Yeah. Because, like, this is the conclusion I've come to, and I'm sure I'm not the only person. Probably is meant to be interpreted this way, but like in that final showdown, when he rises up and gets really big, and then the dog's head starts coming out of him, and it's all like all the various things happening like that. That must mean that the DNA or the genetic information of the dog is stored somewhere in him. Yeah. So that all the things he's ever turned into are somewhere there. So like all these tentacles and stuff
are
and
things that
then the spider's legs and things like that.
Yeah. Well, the shape of the hole in the ice out of which the Norwegian team dug the body is like really tall and thin. And I think actually in the prequel film you do see its original form. Right. When they melt it down. But then whether that's the actual alien or whether that's just, what the
form it's taken.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's another alien that it's taken over or whatever, you don't know. We don't really know how smart it is, like really.
No, because it could just be reactionary.
Yeah. And like sometimes it, like in the case of Palmer, it hides. Yeah. And then other times Windows walks in on Bennings when he's being sort of assimilated in the corner of a room. Yeah. And it's like, the thing's not making much effort to hide him in that case. Yeah. And like rips everyone out of their clothes and all that sort of thing.
It's very strange. Yeah. I mean, there's no real modus operandi here. It's just like, don't get in the room.
It's like a parasite or a monstrous thing rather than a sort of intelligent, nefarious thing.
Quite unpredictable as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it's best to summarise the various ways it does kill people, just so we're equipped for how we'd survive against it if it did come in.
Sure. If it burst into the room right now.
Yeah. Well, it could be here, Chris. We don't know.
You could be the thing.
Well, exactly. Hey, I'm not the thing.
Yeah. So we've got like the various team members die in various different ways. There's Clark, who's shot by McCready, right. So he obviously isn't the thing because he gets shot in the head and dies. Bennings, as I said, gets sort of assimilated in the corner of a room,
half digested.
Yeah. And then they burn him outside. They chase him outside and burn Bennings' thing. Yeah, thingings. Yeah. Blair, as we discussed, he turns into like the sort of big bad at the end, and blows up. But Blair himself is dead, obviously. Yeah. Windows gets his head clamped by the thing
as a Venus flytrap, right?
Yeah, by Palmer. Yes. Who is the one who has bad blood? We don't see him get assimilated because obviously that twist then wouldn't work. Norris is the one who has a heart attack or fakes a heart attack. Yeah. In order to get,
he must have a heart because he's got human organs.
Yeah, but it's difficult to know whether the thing is faking it to get people to do CPR on him, or
it's a big leap of logic.
Yeah, it's difficult to know for sure.
We know that the thing attacks based on like normally they have to be alone. So why would he decide to attack when everyone was gathered around? Although he was electrocuting him, wasn't he? He was doing the
it's the paddles, yeah.
Defibrillator.
Yeah. So it is almost like
a defense mechanism.
Yeah, it's odd though. Like they say that the cells of the thing can sort of live on, people they might already be infected even if they're still human.
Yeah.
Because it's a cellular type thing. So it could be that the process was taking place and that caused the heart attack.
Right.
And then by the time they were performing putting the defibrillators on him, he had fully changed.
Right.
But who knows?
Yeah.
Knowles, he disappears in the sort of final act of the film, sort of the final thing. So he's assumed dead, basically.
Yeah.
He's assumed dead, killed by Blair Thing.
Mm-hmm.
And one person we definitely see killed by Blair Thing is Gary, who suffers the sort of hand to face melt. Yeah, that's one of the most.
It's kind of like he just sticks his fingers in the skin of his face.
Yeah, but it's like his hand becomes part of his face, and it's so disgusting and horrible, isn't it, to think about? And then obviously you're left with MacReady and Childs, and so at the ending, they, as you say, they sit among the wreckage and basically say they can't trust one another, and they're just going to wait to die, I guess, wait to freeze to death. There's a lot of theories about this.
Yes, and the one I'm unsure about. I think we watched this previously a few years ago together, and I said it then, and I'd forgotten about it, and I watched it this time, and whoever I was watching it with, I turned to the person I was watching it with and said, I think I've solved it, because you can see MacReady's breath, and you can't see Child's breath, because they're in the tundra, so he's not breathing.
Right. Okay. There's a lot of theories. There's the theory that obviously there's the theory that neither of them are the thing. Yeah. So they're both still human, but they can't trust one another, which is a very interesting ending because it's so downbeat. If that's the intended ending, like how could they know? They wouldn't be able to know whether or not each other were the thing. Yeah. And they wouldn't ever trust each other, and they're dead regardless. So it's very nihilistic. There's a theory that MacReady is the thing as well, and is the thing throughout the movie, but I don't really subscribe to that because there's things like
there's his blood test, right?
Yeah, exactly, and also but given that he's administering the blood test and Child says this is bullshit, right? There's a theory that he's swapped out the blood somehow, but this is it's reaching, isn't it? Yeah. Because it's the least plausible, and at that point he's got all the crew tied up and he's holding a flamethrower. Why don't he just burn them all to death? Yeah. But then there's the theory that Charles is the thing, and as you say, there's the breath thing. There's also a theory that MacReady's been running around throwing Molotov cocktails. Yeah. So they're sat together. He hands him a bottle of whiskey, and Charles takes a swig out of it, and then the last shot is MacReady. And he sort of smiles and chuckles to himself. And there's a theory that the reason he does that is because that bottle has petrol in it. Yeah. And Charles just takes a swig out of it and doesn't
react.
Yeah, doesn't react to it. And so MacReady knows he's the thing. And so it's it's again quite nihilistic, because MacReady's about to die. But that's a clever ending if that's how it's intended.
That is. But these are all kind of fan theories, right?
Yeah, they are. I don't think any one of them is sort of specifically canon. I subscribe to the Child is the thing.
Yeah, I think that
whiskey
makes
breath
a little sense. I don't know about that reason. I think the breath. But I'm aware that there's a theory that John Carpenter shot a final scene in which Child dies, right, and MacReady is rescued, and they test his blood and find out that he's not the thing. Okay, but there's no record of that anywhere, and John Carpenter denies ever making it. Right. But then I've seen John Carpenter say that it should be obvious to everyone that Childs is not the thing, because we deliberately shot him backlit so you could see MacReady's breath and you can't see his, so it should be obvious. Right. But I've also seen that
he is the thing.
He is the thing. Yeah. And I've also seen it said that he refuses to comment ever.
Yeah.
So it's
it's like the director of any of these sorts of ambiguous endings. They probably change their mind every so often. MacReady is a great character, I think. Yeah. Because he's not particularly good, or heroic. He's a very likable anti-hero. Yeah. Because he shoots Clark dead in cold blood at one point. Yeah. And he doesn't keep his cool very well either. Whenever the thing appears, specifically when the defibrillation scene happens or when Palmer thing happens, there are shots of McCready where you can tell that he's shitting himself, basically.
Yeah.
He's very frightened.
Rightly so.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's refreshing to have a character who's not all like the main character, not be, completely on the level the whole time.
How do you think Jason Bourne would behave in that situation?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He'd have been out there in the tundra waiting for the thing to arrive.
Yeah. He would have smelled the thing coming.
Yeah. I want to talk about the technology they use here.
Okay.
So Blair ran some tests and on some software.
Mm-hmm.
And the computer says there's something like a 27% chance that someone in the camp is already infected.
Okay.
And there's something like a 56% chance that someone in the camp is already infected, or multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, if this thing reaches like civilization, humanity will be wiped out in 27,000 hours.
Yeah.
What data did he input to get that conclusion?
They must have like the software must already have a calculation for whatever you put in it, like the common cold.
Yeah.
Like how long would that take to infect everyone in the world?
But why would a scientist in like Antarctica have that?
Yeah, I don't know.
And what are they doing there?
Well, I don't know. They're like the Norwegians obviously excavate that thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's their remit to be there, are they?
No, there's it's not like they're mining for gas.
No, exactly.
But then they're not all scientists.
Yeah.
Most of them are like hard-headed, like merchant navy people. That's what they seem.
Yeah. Interestingly, the people who live and work out in Antarctica now, like British scientists, every year they have a tradition of watching the thing.
Yeah, I heard about this. Yeah, for their what's Christmas there is like June the 15th or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd want to do that.
No,
it's like being on a plane and watching United '93 or something like that. It'd be horrible.
Yeah, it'd be pretty unpleasant.
Yeah.
Do you think in these real research facilities, if someone said get the flamethrower, it would be a case of which one?
Yeah,
because they've got like 15 machine guns.
Yeah, they're tooled up, aren't they?
Yeah, grenades.
Yeah,
it's pretty heavy.
Well, the grenades at least you can understand because it could be to clear ice or melt things, or because they're thermite sort of grenades, aren't they? They're like incendiary sort of things. But yeah, they are tooled up. Maybe they're like the US Antarctic Defence Force or something.
Yeah, I guess we don't know when this is actually set, so it's possible that
the distant future. Yeah. US is at war with Norway.
Exactly.
That's why they gun them down.
All right, Chris. So I feel largely equipped to talk about this now. Mm-hmm. How would you survive if you were among the Americans or the Norwegians and trying to fight the thing?
Well, you mentioned the Norwegians there. To me, it's always seemed like very poor planning to be relatively close, given their isolation, to a neighbouring Norwegian base and not have anyone on hand who speaks Norwegian or is able to communicate with them.
Yeah.
And also to not have any contact with them prior to the events of the film. Because, you'd think that if you're in that sort of level of isolation, then you'd want as much human contact as you could from like the outside world.
Yeah.
And it seems like, they could meet up
only
every
a few
often.
miles away. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't specify, but they're able to fly there relatively easily on a helicopter. So, you think that they'd meet up. And we see the prequel to the thing is set
in their base.
And most of them aren't Norwegian as well, because obviously it's a Hollywood film.
Yeah, exactly.
So including the protagonist, who is a American woman.
Right.
But they could have had a relationship. One of them could have had a relationship with her. It could be love that never blossomed.
Yeah.
So I think basically it seems strange that they never got in contact with them. Obviously that doesn't help them once the events of the film have started.
No. Although they could, if you could just like text your mate and say, "Oh look, the."
Text your mate in 1981 or whatever.
Yeah, it's set in a distant future, Chris.
Yeah. But they could have. I mean, the flip side to this is that if they were really close, then it could have worked out quite poorly for them, because they could have shared their discovery earlier and put them in danger. Direct contact.
What we found.
Exactly. Like they could have put them in contact with the thing much sooner.
Similar to that, I mean, the Norwegians are kind of the crux of the issue, aren't they? But one of the characters, I can't remember which one, from the American camp, can't tell the difference between Norwegians and Swedes and had to continually be corrected. Now, we already know that there's a language barrier.
Yeah.
There's also a cultural barrier here. Here's how to recognise the difference between Swedes and Norwegians.
Okay.
If you ever find yourself in that situation. This is from AmericanNorseman.wordpress.com.
Okay.
So, shout out to you.
Yeah.
Patriotism. Norwegians are more openly patriotic than Swedes. So,
Okay.
Yeah, there we are. So if they're like
So
thumping their
Swedish
chest
people are
and
sort of
flagging
patriotic in a hidden,
well, it says,
subtle way.
it says Swedes will find sneaky ways of saying something bad about other countries, obviously alluding to the fact that Sweden is better.
Right.
So no Norwegian would do that.
No.
So if they're thumping their chest, waving a flag, saying,
It depends what the flag is.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tradition. Both Norway and Sweden have great pride in their long and storied histories. Together with Denmark, they hold a special place for their Viking ancestors, and the general knowledge that anything from the north is better. The Norwegians, however, seem to hold stronger to things cultivated in Norway. Skiing, for instance. So if they're on skis, then they're Norwegian. And if they're wearing like a horned helmet, then they're Swedish.
Yeah.
And finally, food. Norwegians and Swedes eat strange food. In Norway, daily cuisine often includes sardines, mackerel, farakal, and many other eccentric items that the rest of the world forgot a long time ago.
Right.
So no, on this basis, no Swede would ever eat mackerel.
Okay.
And that's how you can tell the difference.
Okay. So the mackerel and then see
what they're...
Yeah. So that would be also if a Norwegian was suspected of being taken over, like maybe I haven't seen the prequel in a while, so maybe in that film, rather than the blood test, they put a plate of mackerel in front of every person.
And if they like chow it down, this is delicious.
Yeah,
it's a big issue.
Yeah. Well, I did struggle coming up with survival tips for this one. Again, returning to the Norwegian thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they could have done. Target practice, for example. Because they're shooting all over the place.
Yeah.
They appear to. Butterfingers as well, dropping that grenade that blows up the helicopter and himself.
Yeah. Well, that's my next how to survive. Don't drop the grenade.
And he also accidentally shoots one of the American team members.
Yeah.
There's, basically, as we said, these appear to be like research stations rather than military installations.
Don't give them guns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Have you ever fired a gun?
I haven't.
No.
I wouldn't back myself in my ability to shoot a white dog on a white surface while moving in a helicopter.
No.
In less than ideal conditions.
Yeah, it's quite noble of them though, because they could have just flown the other way.
Yeah, that's true. They could have just, on another note, they could have just crashed the helicopter directly into the dog.
Yeah.
Saving everyone else the trouble.
Yeah, they kind of herded it towards the American camp in the end.
Yeah, or the dog may have been running towards.
How would it have known? It's miles away.
Well, it's the thing, mate.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe it cloned a radar some time ago.
Yeah.
The major one for me, the major sort of turning point for the film, and it's a real clanger.
Yeah.
I can't remember which member of the crew, but they take McCready outside and they say, "Oh, listen, I've just looked at Blair's notes, and it says that the thing can only breed if it's alone with people, and it's still alive. That body is still alive."
Yeah.
And he's, that's a big revelation. Did realise though that we just left the remains of someone alone in a room with it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk to you in private, McCready.
Yeah.
I mean that last part of the conversation doesn't happen.
No.
That happened in my head.
Yeah, and they've also by this point locked Blair in the shed. Yeah. Making mistakes. They contradict themselves all over the shop, really, aren't they? Ideally, the ideal situation would be the moment they discover the situation is to quarantine everyone individually until they know for certain that they're not the thing.
Yeah, or just keep everyone together.
Yeah.
It's a hard one because there's no obvious characteristics that you said to be the thing.
Can it only kill by assimilating? That's the only way we see it killing anyone.
Yeah.
So, maybe the fact that that is the problem for it, is that it can only kill people by assimilating it. For whatever reason. So that's why it needs to be on its own, because it's like sitting down for a meal. It needs the proper sort of situation,
like hygiene sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe. He didn't like shoot people.
Yeah.
Maybe it can only clone people if it like if they're alive, and that's why it needs to keep them alive.
Yeah. But then, like, you know, it knows how to fly a helicopter and, well, pilot a spaceship. Or, you know, Blair destroys the helicopter in order to stop the thing from using it. So maybe that's...
Yeah, but it takes on the memories and stuff of the people.
Exactly, yeah. So if it's like my suggestion to the thing is to take over someone who knows how to use the flamethrower.
Yeah. Or McCready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, all of them. Which it does, so fine.
Well done.
Yeah. So well done to the thing, who is our survivor of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
And the sun sets on another episode of the How to Survive podcast. I've been Joe, and you've been Chris.
Yes.
We think.
We hope so.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be back next week to discuss another sort of body takeover, Who Are You kind of movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And which version is this, Chris?
It's the 1970s, 1970. I can't remember the year exactly.
Okay. The one with Donald Sutherland.
Yeah. It's the one that everyone thinks of.
Yes.
Yeah. Not the Invasion, which is the Daniel Craig and somebody, Nicole Kidman, I think, film called The Invasion, which is terrible. Or the very old original 1950s Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
So 2 weeks we've had 3 generation movies.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's almost as though we planned it.
Yeah.
But we did plan it, but not for that reason.
Yeah. So see you next week. Plan for that.
And in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us and tell us your thoughts and theories about who's left at the thing, left at the end of the thing, or how you'd have survived if you were the thing, or one of the survivors, or one of the scientists, who knows, then you can get in touch on Twitter. The Twitter handle is @HowToSurvivePod. The email address is howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. And you can also find us on our website, howtosurviveshow.com.
Yeah. And there you'll find all sorts of things about the movies coming up.
Yeah.
Further reading if I bother to put them up. And it'd be great to hear from you.
Yeah.
See you next week, and keep watching the skies. Chris, that's from the original.
Oh, that's from the original, the thing from another world.
Yeah. I looked that up and I used it in the podcast.
Yep. Cheers.
It's the sort of research we're into here.
Yep.
See ya.